And to go back to our first question about, the possibility of overreading Niedecker, if you're coming to the poem in the space of your imaginary, it's totally your right to limit yourself to a literal reading, but why not take it upon yourself to overread and give yourself that license if it's going to deepen the experience of that poem for you?
Well, I guess to me it's different from, typical New York School poems because it doesn't have that concrete, I did this, I did that. I see more figurative meaning in it. And to me, it really just conveys this feeling of wistfulness, of looking back on possibly missed opportunities, but having a certain acceptance and resignation of that. So I see really that various field maybe as a metaphor for all the ephemeral experiences or opportunities he had in his life and either passed over or had and they didn't turn out the way he wished.
Maybe by unconsciously conforming to the language of Shirley Temple's and Mary Jane's, she sort of lost her individuality in her childhood, something that she's only conscious of now looking back retrospectively. So the text is self-aware in that way.
I was also struck by the image of the dead eyes, particularly to put that in conversation with the Dorothea Lange photograph where we see there are no eyes in those photos. The eyes are downcast if we see a face at all. And I see that as dead in the sense of, unseeing and unseen because these men don't see a way forward. There's a loss of agency. Of course, there's the literal death. The dying is casual because statistically men were dying from hunger across the nation. But there's also perhaps significantly also a death of dignity, a death of self-worth that, like we were saying before, is so key to the American ethos of individuality. And, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but what if the situation leaves you completely helpless and unable to do that? And I think it's interesting that in the first photograph we're talking about, in the breadline photograph, that's before the New Deal kicked in and government aid was available to these men, but they're still left just waiting in this very static image, begging for help. So the action that's available to them through labor, through work that would allow them to feel some sorts of pride has been taken from them. Whereas in the second photograph, they are waiting for relief checks. But again, it's that static image where no action is possible, no sense of individual pride and work is possible. And the Edwin Rolfe poem also ends in this static image of just standing propped against a stone cold wall. So I think the three pieces work really, really well in conversation with each other.
I think it's lack of self-censorship. A little bit before, when he says speechless, I don't think he means silent there. He means embracing incomprehensibility, rejecting
Good.
Normal discourse.
Recreating the syntax.
Kind of think about resilience in these times where the days seem to dissolve. And typically, I think, we conceptualize that in the form of some sort of self-reliance. But while everyone's kind of at home working alone, I found that community in imaginative spaces has been the best sort of spiritual solace. And especially when everything kind of feels in suspension, it kind of feels like the joke's on us. I really love that this poem talks about that pressure of just not knowing what to do, to differentiate the days, and how the Bernadette Mayer poem talks about kind of anchoring us in routine, in the simple pleasures of daily life. Those are the kind of the things that nourish us spiritually when it doesn't seem like there's anything that we can do to control what's happening around us.